I want to talk about a topic that I never hear spoken about, and I think mostly because it kind of exists subconsciously in our hearts, if that makes sense, in our minds. But I think it probably exists in every Christian who has possibly ever lived. It's a big question, and that question being, why and or what do we do when we feel like we're doing absolutely everything we possibly can, doing everything the Lord would ever want us to do, making Him first, putting Him as first priority in our lives, and we're still not getting anything we want? We feel like we're not having our prayers answered. It almost feels like just radio silence. And this can be really frustrating because maybe we're not legalistically putting Him first. Like, we really love Him and we want to hear from Him and we want to do this back and forth thing. And so what gives? What's going on here? To start to answer this question, I want to bring up a short little chapter in my life that was really hard for me. As some of you might know, I have a camper van that I've lived in for 2 years now, which is a step up with a bed and the 3-burner propane stove, because before that was an SUV for 4 years. Before that, I lived in a tent in the woods for 2 years. And then before that, I was just living out of a backpack, drifting around the country. I was in Alaska for a couple years. I did that for several years. And so I'm 33 now, and I've lived this way my whole adult life. 1 month after I bought that van, big step up, with every penny I had saved for years, I found the Lord. And, He whisked me away. And it was just me and Him off to the races. I mean, it wasn't long before I dropped out of college because I wanted to be in the Bible all day. And it wasn't long before I was spending 6, 8, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week in the Bible. So that was my life. And for about a year and a half into me finding the Lord, having my van, living that life, having put Him as first priority would have been maybe an understatement. I couldn't even think of anything else. I still really can't. Like, I felt like I was in the cosmos and that I was never going to come down, and I had a really rough first year, actually, of being a Christian after knowing the truth. It was like if Neo off of the Matrix movie took the red pill and then everybody just left him behind and let him figure it out for himself, and all the Agent Smiths were around mad. It was like that. And so suddenly, about a year and a half in, I wake up in the morning and first things on my mind already, can't wait to get in this word. Gotta go talk to you, Lord. I go to turn on my van and something very loud snapped in the engine. I had it towed, and I found out that it was a bracket that held on the serpentine belt. Now, this camper van is year 1989. And so that particular bracket was a specialized bracket for that make and model for that year. They don't make them anymore. And it snapped in 3 places. It's like this big, and it snapped in 3 places, right on the screw hole. I mean, it was in pieces. I went to the website and I found the exact bracket I would need. And it said at the bottom, if you need this specially made, email this email. I was like, oh gosh, thank you, Lord, I said. And I emailed that email, and I got a response, and He said He wasn't going to make it for me. And this is all kind of dragging out for a couple weeks. The mechanics were nice enough to let me keep my van at their parking lot until I tried to figure this all out. I found the bracket, did all this research, and it was just one door slammed in my face at a time, and I just couldn't understand. I was like, Lord, why would you throw such a wrench in my spokes here? I mean, we're like, this is our love story here. We're doing this. What's going on? I get up every day and I just want to get in the Word. I started this Bible study. I know you wanted me to do that. It's growing. Everybody's growing around me. And everybody who's not growing around me are like really mad at me for loving you. So it's like, my life is a David psalm. What gives? And I remember after that guy emailed me, because this was like 2 weeks into this process, and then I was like dead for sure, God, you gave me a way to get this bracket. When that email came back to me, I was admittedly angry. And the way I explain it to other people is like I was spinning. My life was in shambles. You know, when you live in your van and it breaks down, now it's at the shop, it's your whole life. And my life was all for him, and I couldn't understand why he would do this to me. And I was, you know, it felt like he was punishing me for something, and I could not figure that out. It's like, why punish me for what? What am I doing wrong? I'm sitting at your feet. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to in my mind and my heart. And it's all for the right reasons. Like, I'll sit here in this Bible for the rest of my life. I don't care about anything else. I'm not doing this for legalistic reasons. I'm not doing this to impress anybody. I'm trying to fade away with you. That's it. So what gives? Why would you, like, create something that made this stop? And I was like having a really hard time getting in the Word even. Like, I would just sit there and just like stew and like pray, and then like an hour would go by, 2 hours would go by, and haven't even read a verse, and then I would finally just kind of give up, and like it was kind of ruining my life, you know. And I knew I had this feeling in me that, and this is always correct, by the way, that the Lord had done this. And I knew that, but I could not for the life of me figure out any positive reason why he would do that, why it would make sense in our love story, why he would do that. And I remember 3 days in particular after I found that email, like I spun. Everybody who knows me, who's around me at that time, this was like I was in a bit of a crisis. I was down, I was not myself. I didn't know what to do. And finally, after day 3 of that, I woke up and like I was already so angry I could cry. And I was standing in the middle of my van, and I remember suddenly this, I wouldn't call it peace, but it was like his presence fell over me. And I just stopped, and I was standing in the middle of my van, and I was like, okay, I'm listening. If you have something to say to me, I'm listening, okay? And so I got showered and I went to the library, and for the first time, in not an angry way, I opened the Word back up, and the very verse that I left off on 3 days prior was in Isaiah, and it was a simple little verse. It said, "Thorn bush will become a myrtle." A myrtle is a type of flower that grows on a tree. Suddenly, that very moment, it hit me. So I forgot to mention that while I was sleeping in my van in the parking lot at the auto mechanic shop, I had 3 friends in 1 week offer to let me stay in one of their spare rooms for free until I get it all figured out, indefinitely, months if need be. No charge, no problemo. A couple of them were even kind of excited. It'd be cool to have you around for a bit. And I told them all, not sternly, not angrily, I told them all, I'll stay at the homeless shelter. That's just my way, always has been my way. And they all 3 of them gave me the wildest looks. I was like, oh yeah, I'm reminded now. I'm a bit of an alien on this planet. I forgot that's weird, but that's what I'm doing. Love you guys. I'll see you at Bible study. And when I saw that verse, the thorn bush becomes the myrtle, I knew. I knew exactly why the Lord had snapped that bracket. It's because my whole life, I have been a thorn bush. I had put all of my resources, time, and energy into my defense mechanisms, having thorns. Get away from me. You stay over there. I'll poke you. Or else. Don't come over or else. And my whole life had been that. I had never once put any ounce of energy or nutrients or anything into trying to be welcoming to people, into trying to be something that would maybe be considered beautiful in this life. I'd always been a thorn bush, and I, the thorn bush, had always convinced myself that that didn't bother me, and that I could look across the valley and I could see all the kids playing with all those flowers, and it don't bother me. I'm fine over here. Don't come over here. I'm just fine where I'm at, by myself, forever. But in that moment, I realized that was a lie, probably to a deeper degree than I still understand. I think that probably hurt me very deeply when I was super, super young and can hardly even remember it. And I just got with my own program and became a thorn bush. And right in that moment when I was realizing all this, again, it's almost a voice sometimes, but I heard the Lord say, you can't be a thorn bush anymore. And I remember him literally saying to me, I'm having this conversation with myself, he said, you want to love this world. That's what you're all about, love. That's what you say. You found love in the woods 4 years ago, and now you found me, and it's changed your life, and you've said that this is a love story between me and you, and who am I? God is love. I am love. 1 John 4:16. And he said, love can't be a thorn bush. To love, you must trust. And to trust, you must stick your neck out again. And to stick your neck out again, that means you got to put those thorns away. I'm trying to make you into something new. That's the old you. The old you goes and sleeps at the homeless shelter. The old you finds some way not to be an inconvenience to people and do it on your own. Maybe I would have gone back here at the end of this bridge where there's a homeless camp, and maybe I would have gone even further than that so I didn't even have to talk to them. That's what the old me would have done. And that's what everything I could consciously think of in me now wanted to do. Back to my old ways. Go across the valley, do my own thing. But he said, I can't have you do that. I'm trying to make you into a flower. I'm trying to make you into something that attracts people to you, and they see something new in you, and they want to know what it is. More than other people, I'm trying to do this for you. You think you want to be a thorn bush, son, but you don't. You've just gotten used to it. I'm trying to give you a new life. And so I need you to do this very uncomfortable thing for me. And I just remember crying right there over my Bible, and I gave myself another day, and then I contacted my friend Ken, who had been one of the friends that offered me a room to stay. And I asked him if he still had that room available. And he said yes. And I asked him if I could come, and he said yep. And I gave it another 2 or 3 days. I slept in that parking lot for now. I had to prepare myself. I also used this as an opportunity to quit my weed habit. And so those next 2 nights went by, and then I showed up at night. I was in the Bible all that day, and then I showed up at about 10 p.m. Ken was already in bed, and he left the back door open for me. And I was driving my truck at this point. My van was still in the shop, and so I got out of the truck, and I looked over at that door, and I remember just putting my head against my truck, and I bawled for 5 minutes. Something in me deep broke in a good way, like a dam that was holding back water that needed to be free. And then I walked inside. I was there for about a month and a half. And all that was why that bracket snapped that day. So there. It rolled around in my mind. I'm like, Lord, are you mad at me? Is that why you snapped that bracket? And what's crazy about that is I'm not the only one that feels that way. You're not the only one that feels that way. Guess who else felt that way? Job. Job, in chapter 19, verse 11, said, his anger burns against me. He has turned against me. Talking about God. Job couldn't think of anything else either. He's like, he must hate me. He must be angry at me even though I did everything right. And we know, because we saw behind the scenes with the story of Job, that wasn't the case at all. Job didn't lose everything because God was angry. God was developing more into Job, and he was proving a point to evil. And so this is 100% of the time. Never an exception. Whenever it feels like nothing is going right in your life, God's not angry at you. That's not why. There's something higher that he is doing that you can't see 100% of the time. And you have to have faith in the process 100% of the time, as close as you can get. That's the idea, right? Understand that nothing ever happens on accident. Everything happens for a reason. I learned that from Balaam and his donkey. The story of Balaam in Numbers. He's going along the road, he's on his donkey, and the donkey sees the angel of God with a sword drawn in the middle of the road, and he veers off into the weeds. Balaam, the wicked prophet, beats the donkey. And on the third time that happens, the donkey turns around with Balaam's whip in hand. He's like, "Why are you hitting me?" The donkey says. And Balaam says, "Because you keep veering off the road. We're trying to get somewhere." And the donkey says something very interesting. The donkey says, "I've been your donkey all these years. Have I ever done this?" Aha. Everything happens for a reason. Even when you're on your donkey and it veers off the road, that's for a reason. We have to understand that nothing happens by chance or accident. Nothing happens unintentionally. But we have to trust that when things are not going our way, God's got a better way. We think we know what we want. Maybe we think we want a bunch of money. Maybe we think we want this house that we toured and it just fell through. Maybe we think we want to be a thorn bush for the rest of our lives. God has better ideas, better plans. And the thing is, this is also something interesting I found, I kind of learned through experience, is that lying on the other side of this sacrifice and this trust is never something that you would not have agreed to, because he cannot break your free will. Whenever you're going through something very uncomfortable, it is for something that, had you known prior, you would have agreed to. You would have agreed to all the hardship that goes along with it. Sorry, that was wild. A homeless guy just went by on a four-wheeler with a wheelbarrow attached, and since the water's just low enough in the river, he just went out to one of the islands. Well, he just came back. That was wild. And so like I was saying, nothing happens by chance, and nothing happens against your free will. And so we are called to trust God, to trust him. Even when things don't go according to plan, we have to understand it's still part of the plan. It's always part of the plan. And the more we do this, the more we wrestle with this, the more we wrestle with him and say yes. And even maybe we'll stomp our feet for a few days like I did. But if we turn to him and trust him again, even after those times, he'll let us know what he's up to and what he's trying to make you into. Maybe he is trying to turn an old thorn bush into a flower.